Well, we are just going to get right into this video. This is a big garden cleanup day. We have had a very busy schedule, lots going on, trying to sneak in some fall planting here and there. And it's just really starting to get to the point where I'm ready to close the garden down for the year and not deal with it a whole lot more other than maybe some light watering. So the first thing on our list is we've got to fix this box. This is one of my raised beds. It is one of the originals that Tracy built for me, and it has sweet potatoes in it right now. Unfortunately, the 4x4 posts have rotted out. I mean, this thing has been here for almost 15 years. So we are gonna have to pull the sweet potatoes on this side so that he can dig the dirt out and then repair this box so that we can get another few years out of it. So we're just going to start pulling those up. Usually they tell you to wait until your sweet potato plants start to die off and the leaves will start to yellow, and that's how you generally know that your sweet potatoes are ready. However, we have found that quite a few of these sweet potatoes have already cracked, and that means they've just gotten too much water. Similar to how tomatoes will split from too much rain. And so we are actually going to go ahead and start harvesting our sweet potatoes either this week or next week. We had quite a few really beautiful ones, but you can see here, this one is cracked. So the only thing that will be different is we won't be able to store this one as long. We will go ahead, set it in our shop on some shelving to cure. And then as soon as those are done, probably in about 2 weeks, those will be the first ones we use because they are open to the air. And so they're just going to be more susceptible to rotting. So while Tracy's digging out that dirt, Logan's helping him. I'm just gonna clean up this other box. We had collards in here. The caterpillars got them and just decimated it. So I'm gonna pull everything. And Logan always is our very best farm hand. And all they're doing is just finishing taking the dirt out and getting those rotten posts out so that they can replace them and then screw the boards back in. this area used to be a walkway before we fenced in the garden, and so now we're actually going to turn it into another planting area. So when I cleaned out the chicken coop a few weeks ago, I dumped most of it into this section, and now I'm just letting the chickens spread it out for me. It's also really handy while I'm working in the box next to it that I can just toss anything over and they will be taking care of it for me. So these basil plants are still hanging in there even though we've had cooler weather, but they need to be pulled. So the ones that I can pull up where nothing is planted with them, I will probably go ahead and pull those. The other ones that I have kind of interplanted with some of our fall crop, I'm just gonna cut those at the stem, close to the ground, but where I can still see like a stem sticking up, and those will just rot down over the winter. Honestly, if I wasn't planting anything here this winter at all, then I would just leave them, let the leaves fall, let them break down, and just add that organic matter in, and I still really recommend that. But because we basically grow stuff in our garden 24/7, I'm gonna remove them. Here, Logan is just helping me out, digging out some of this dirt. The chickens just, I don't know, they think all the dirt should be kicked out. So it builds up around the edge, and just in an effort to kind of keep down some of the rot from wood, even though it's pressure treated, it's still wood, it rots. And then also to help with the termites and stuff like that, he's going to just dig all of this out and flatten it out, and he really gets a kick out of like getting stuff really pretty in our lawn. He gets his OCD from his mom and his dad. So he was really proud that he got all this looking super nice and got it all flat again. And then we had a lot more dirt to add back into the garden. All right, out here is where we grew our pumpkins. We have some okra stalks, and I also have my field peas out like above my head there. So I have gone through, and we did not get very many pumpkins this year, but what I am doing is I have 2 pumpkins that are left. So I'm like following those stalks to make sure that I don't pull those stalks up. I've got, like I said, I've got 2 left that I'm just sort of trying to let ripen and give them as long as they can to get everything they need. So everything else though, it may have some like baby pumpkins on it, but the weather the way it is, they're not gonna have enough time to come to full maturity and ripen. And honestly, the section back here, it just looks so bad. It's such an eyesore that I would just feel better about cleaning it up. So other than saving those 2 pumpkin stalks that actually have pumpkins on them, I am going to pull everything else up. I'm going to clean it up, and then I'm actually gonna tarp back here. We had quite a few squash bugs. We had some other stuff, a lot of weeds that came up, and it's really difficult to weed in between pumpkin vines. I totally understand why people sort of plant them in areas that they can just kind of go through the grass and whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and tarp back here because I want to try to kill off anything that is left over over the course of the winter so that this area is ready to be amended and then planted next year. And I just have to brag on my husband. He's so handy with stuff, and if I give him a project, he figures out a way to make it happen. So you can see the project on the box. He's got the new posts in, and now he's just reattaching the wood. And so I was so excited. We already had these posts left over from, I don't know, some other project we did, maybe the chicken coop. And so I'm so excited that basically this was a free fix, and it's going to last us another few years. So I'm just really excited about that. This was our flower garden and herb garden this year, and it did really well. I was really sad, of course. My zinnias always tend to get this fungus that eventually kills them off. However, I decided to try to plant some, I think it was late August or early September, just to see if I could do another round of zinnias, because with the weather being cooler and less humid, I was hoping that they would last at least until the first frost. And I am pleased to report that that was a completely successful experiment. I have some beautiful zinnia plants. You can see that they are even blooming and they are looking so healthy. So I'm excited that I'll still get to be able to pick some fresh flowers, and I will absolutely be doing this again. Instead of holding on to the really sad dying ones, I will be keeping them. And now I just have to weed. This is a trench that Logan cut for us. It runs through our garden. The way our land is positioned, it slopes down, and so we really use this drainage ditch. And of course, because it's like the wettest place in the garden, we get tons of weeds. So just gonna clean that out and make sure that it is ready for the winter rains, and that we're not going to encourage any weed growth in there. Okay, so one of the things we're doing today in our garden cleanup is we are planting our garlic. And in Georgia, garlic is a great plant to start in the fall. It winters over, and then by late spring or early summer, it is ready to harvest. So I love the type music garlic. It is a hardneck variety. So it's not gonna make a pretty garlic braid or anything like that later, but it stores really, really well. Last year I planted garlic, and I planted some in a really good row like this. It was hilled up, the dirt was really nice and loose, and it was not compacted at all. We had amended it to kind of break up some of that clay. And then I planted some in a more compacted row that I had left over, and I will tell you there was a huge difference in the size of my bulbs. The stuff that was in the looser dirt grew to about this size, and the stuff that was in the more compact dirt, while it did grow, it definitely was 1/2 to maybe 1/3 of the size of this garlic. Okay, so when you get your garlic, it just looks like the garlic you would get at the store. You can actually plant the garlic that you do get at the store, but all you're going to do is you are going to attempt to bust it apart. There we go. And you are going to plant each individual clove, the root side down, tip side up. Each one of these should, in theory, turn into a complete clove or bulb of garlic. This is a clove, this is a bulb. I always mix those up. So I'm going to put it down. Logan amended this for me and got it nice and loose, so I'm going to put it down. I'm gonna cover it up. And I usually go about the width of my hand in between. I think the instructions say 4 to 6 inches. So we're gonna do that all the way down this row. And then I have about a pound of garlic. So I think I have 6 total heads of garlic. So what I will do is I'm just gonna plant them any place that I have a really good, nice, deep mound of dirt. If it is compacted, then I'm not even gonna mess with it. It's not worth it to me. I need to get more soil amendments, but that just hasn't happened yet. So it will eventually. Okay, I might be able to. All right, I'll get it. I'm gonna have to pot this one. And just for anyone who mistakenly thinks I have my life together, this would be the chicken soup that I started when we went out to the garden. And then 2.5 hours later, we realized that we'd completely forgotten it. And I came into a house filled of smoke, and I'm just really hoping that I haven't ruined my favorite pot. So I always sprout my sweet potato vines from sweet potatoes that I've already had. And this year, they just gave me tons of vines. Now I did do something a little different. I started them in a jar of water like I always do, and I got a few off of that. But then I saw a trick to actually plant your sweet potato in dirt, and it will give you more vines. And that trick was amazing. And I got so many vines, I ended up just sticking them everywhere. So I ended up throwing some vines in this strawberry box of ours. They aren't quite ready yet like the other ones were. They were planted much, much later. So I'm gonna leave them a little bit longer, but I was thrilled with how many vines that I was able to get. And so next year I will absolutely be doing the same thing again because we love sweet potatoes. They store incredibly well. I just keep them in a basket out of my garage, and they store so well for us all winter. And then we just sprout new ones from those leftovers in the spring. So highly recommend actually starting your sweet potatoes in dirt. And here we have more sweet potato vines, but hidden under there in all of these cinder blocks are some strawberry plants. And over the course of the last few months, they actually have been putting off just tons of little babies down in the mulch. So I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna dig up all the little babies out of the mulch, and I'm going to transplant them either around the box or into my green stock planter and get those filled up. first year using a green stock planter, and I decided to put my strawberries in it. We had it up on our back deck because it just looked pretty up there, but that gets too hot. So we ended up moving it just down on the ground closer to our garage and in the back of the house. And that area gets shade a little bit sooner during the day. And ever since we did that, they've done pretty well. So I am just transplanting some of these babies and letting them get established, and then we're gonna see how it survives the winter. The nice thing about the green stock is I can move it inside either in my garage or in my shed if I need to, or throw a tarp over it if it's gonna frost or whatever. So I'm excited to see how these guys handle the winter and hopefully do well and get back into the spring. And then because I ran out of room in the green stock planter, I'm going to add strawberries over to this side box by the chickens. This area gets a lot of shade, so I'm not 100% sure how well they'll do. I know they'll grow, but I'm not sure how well they'll produce here. So we're going to try it this year or this coming year, and we'll see if it's a good place for them to stay or not. So here is the final reveal. Everything feels so much better and more organized. It's cleaned up, it looks nicer. We are definitely ready for fall to come in. And other than harvesting the last of the sweet potatoes and planting a few carrots and some spinach, we are done for the year. And it feels so good to have all of this really taken care of. Harvesting sweet potatoes is an easy task, so I can just do that later on. But overall, the garden is just cleaned up and it feels like we're done with it. So it's really a great feeling.